Good evening. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are discussing canine cytology, its investigation and interpretation. So, Dr. Taggi has given my introduction. So, directly we can start with our topic, cytology. So, cytology it's come under three different categories. We can divide cytology in three different categories. So, fine needle aspiration cytology, impression smear cytology, and body fluid evaluation. So these three things we are going to discuss for today's webinar. Now, starting with the fine needle aspiration. So in this case, we need to prepare the site first, then identification of organ, then we have to use a suitable needle and syringe for the collection of material. Then after that, the collection of material and preparation of that material for examination. So these are the routine things we need to follow in our clinic. Now these are some of the needles that can be used for the different types of cytological examination and fine needle aspiration biopsies from the different organs, different systems, and the body cavities. Now, identification of site is most crucial thing in the cytology. The first thing is that the cytology from which organ we have to collect. So for that, the site confirmation of the deep-seated organs is most essential part of the cytology. So that can be achieved by the either palpation, then you can go for the USG, the sonography of the same organ, and simultaneously you can do the sonography as well as you can insert the needle in that particular organ and collect the aspirated fluid or the tissue or the cells from that particular organ with the help of probe of USG. So it is a simultaneous procedure. First palpation followed by the USG, then insertion of the needle at the proper site, and then collection of material. Sometimes it may be required the X-ray. It is generally for the bone marrow or the collection of bone or the bone tissues, and along with X-ray we should draw some illustration diagram along with that. So where exactly the organ is seated, just by making the marks, and where exactly we have to insert the needle. So that thing we have to keep in mind while collecting the samples. So this is the site confirmation. Either you can go by palpation if these organs little bit superficial, then if deeply seated organs, then in that case USG is most important factor, and the X-ray. Then site confirmation of the deep seated organs by palpation X-ray. So that already we have discussed. Now this is one of the picture of the ascitic fluid collection from the particular animal. Now impression smear. So impression smear can be taken during surgery, maybe during the postmortem. Then sometimes there are superficial lesions that can be present over the skin, maybe from the wounds or from the mucous membrane. So impression smears can be taken from the wounds, the skin, then the mucous membranes. Then sometimes impression smears can be taken during surgery as well as during the postmortem. Now, how to take impression smears? It's very simple. Just expose the organ and put slides over it and take an impression smear directly from the organ. Now, the next thing is a body fluid evaluation. So, ascitic fluid, the cerebrospinal fluid, thoracic fluid, synovial fluid, then urine, milk, and semen. So, these fluids can come under the body fluids. So, ascitic fluid, cerebrospinal fluid, thoracic fluid, and synovial fluid, and urine and milk and semen. Now, general procedure. So, general procedure of the cytology includes the first is the collection of sample, then preparation of smears, the fixation of smears, the staining with the suitable stain, and observation. So here you can see the collection of material. So once the needle is inserted in the particular organ, you may get a very few drops, or sometimes you may get the content in the shaft of the syringe only, or the needle. Then you have to prepare the smear accordingly. I will show one video to you. So how to prepare it. So here the small drop has been taken. Just we have to make some air space into the syringe. So whatever the material is there in the slide, in the needle, it get passed on the slide. Just put a drop of the material on at the middle of slide and at one corner of the slide. So one slide you can prepare just by putting or pressing a slide on one above. So like this, you can prepare one smear. This is one technique. And another technique is like a similar to the blood smear examination or the preparation of the blood smear. So like this, you can make an angle and make a slide. So this is the how to prepare the smear. So again, I'm repeating the same thing. Just withdraw air, some air, then again put needle, put a drop on the slide, then one drop at the one corner, another drop at the center of the slide. So either by two way you can prepare the smear, then just put another slide over it, a central drop, and a draw or the withdraw the slides at the both ends. You can get the two slides together. And regularly, if the fluid is more or the more fluidity is there, then you can prepare a smear like this. Okay, now all is about the how to collect the material, how to prepare the smear, and how to stain it. So different types of stains are there. Different materials can be stained with the Lisman stains, Giemsa stain, or you may go further some special stain that we can see at a later stage. Now, what to interpret after preparation of the slides, preparation of the smears? What to interpret? It is most important factor that we are going to discuss today. So we have to interpret the material. Either this may be inflammatory, whether it is inflammatory, whether it is non-inflammatory, whether it is a benign tumor, whether it is malignant tumor, whether it is hyperplastic, or if any specific pathology is there that we have to identify or interpret during our examination. So here you can, if you see, you can see one of this smear or the cytology. Here you can see the mixture of the everything. So here in the central portion is the neoplastic cells, then surrounded by some of the neutrophils, and some of the RBCs are also there. So it is a mixture of the whole things. So it is inflammatory plus neoplastic. So such type of things can be observed while doing the cytology. Okay, we can see the each and every aspect of this: the inflammatory, non-inflammatory, benign, malignant, then hyperplastic, specific cellular pathology identification. Now inflammatory. Now if any condition is there in body, and if we are going to say that this is inflammatory, then what are the different criteria? So inflammatory will exudate, or the inflammatory conditions that can be observed in that particular organ, maybe the acute inflammation, maybe subacute inflammation, maybe chronic inflammation, or inflammation because of the secondary tumor that we have seen one of the slide. In that the tumor cells are also there, as well as there is a infiltration of the inflammatory cells also. So by cytology we can able to identify acute inflammation, subacute inflammation, then chronic inflammation, and secondary inflammation due to the tumor. Now acute inflammation. Now acute inflammation of cytology of acute inflammation is characterized by the segmented and band cells, band neutrophils. Band neutrophils and segmented cells both are there. Then some few shades of the fibrins can be present in acute inflammatory conditions. Then homogeneous pale pink ground substance can be present, maybe due to the plasma. So these type of things can be observed in the smear. Then small pink granules of the protein clumps that also present in the cytological examination. Now what are these? So these are nothing but the plasma proteins that get coagulated during the staining procedure or whenever it get exposed. So as we know that whenever inflammatory exudate is there, when it exposed to the air, it get coagulated. The same thing is happened over here when we have collected some inflammatory material or the cytological part or the cytological biopsies from the organs. If we are getting neutrophils with segmented and band cells, few fibrin shades, then homogeneous pale pink background on the smear, that is because of the plasma, and some granules, pale pink or the blue color granules that can be present because of the inflammatory exudate. Now here I can show when a dog is having some inflammatory reaction into the cornea and around the inner canthus. if I can take the blood smear or the if I can take the cytological smear from this particular area, I could get the acute inflammatory reaction. So here you can see some of the band cells are also present. So band neutrophils, some of the band neutrophils are there, and you can see the mature or segmented neutrophils, some of the lymphocytes. But once we say, once we get more than 85% area is occupied neutrophil, then we can say it is a acute inflammation. Whenever neutrophils are occupied more than 85% area, or the 85% of the cells, if they are neutrophils, then it is acute inflammation. Now, this is another picture of acute inflammation. You can see some pale homogeneous area in the background. Then neutrophils are there. Again, acute inflammation. Large number of neutrophils are here. Snout, and that puppy is not able to breathe properly. That's why you can see the some prod is there, or the mucus with the air bubble is present at the nostrils. That because that snout has been packed because of the inflammatory exudate. Now, in such cases, we can get the frustrated neutrophils. So, frustrated neutrophils generally observed because of the whenever there is a more type of antigen, or the whenever there is a excessive type of antigen, or the a bacterial load or inflammation is in excess, along with the severe exudation. In that case, we are getting the frustrated neutrophils. Means the neutrophils are there, but they are not able to do their normal function. So that's why they get frustrated, and there is a enzymatic reaction takes place, and that may lead to the severe again edematous formation. And in such condition, whenever we are taking cytological examination of such swollen part, in that case we are getting large number of frustrated neutrophils. The segments get lost, or the cells get burst, or there is a disintegration of the nuclear material. As well as we are getting this very small pink color granules throughout the structures. So that is nothing but the inflammatory or the chemotaxis effect of the chemotaxis, inflammatory exudate. Now here again, one case of the tail gangrene, severe pus formation, abscess formation, and severe inflammation at the tail of the dog. In that case, this cytology is again showing the same type of frustrated type of neutrophils. You can see the large number of frustrated type of neutrophils. They lost their segmentation. Then you can see some of the bacteria are also present. Some of the bacteria are present in the cytoplasm of that particular cells, and there is a some of the cells they show the autophagy also. So there is a neutrophilic autophagy can be observed by the macrophages. So these are the things can be observed whenever there is an excessive load to the neutrophils, and neutrophils are not able to cope up with the inflammation or infection. In such cases, we are getting the frustrated type of neutrophils. Now, subacute inflammation. In subacute inflammation, the neutrophils count is little bit less, but along with that, we are getting more macrophages. Then the more lymphocytes, some plasma cells are there, and along with that, fibroblast and fibrin is also present in the particular cytology. Okay, so in some of the conditions, we are getting bacteria plus neutrophils. Some neutrophils are engulfing the bacteria. So here bacterial colonies are engulfed by the neutrophils. Some free bacteria are also present in the cytological slides. Here you can see some of the bacteria, they are present freely into the cytological smears. Subacute inflammation, it is characterized by the presence of neutrophils, presence of macrophages, and some of the lymphocytes. So that is a characteristic feature of the subacute inflammation. Then fibrin shreds or shreds of fibrin can be present in such type of inflammations. Then secondary to the tumors. So inflammation can be observed because of the tumors, and as there is continuous necrosis is continuously going on in the highly proliferative type of tumors. In such cases, we are getting the inflammatory cells along with the there may be the acute or chronic inflammation and tumor cells in abundance amount. So here you can see the tumor cells are present over here in the central. Here also tumor cells are there. Here tumor cells, and these tumor cells are surrounded by some of the neutrophils, some of the lymphocytes are also here. So the tumor cells are generally having the inflammation at the margins. Then non-inflammatory cells, the non-inflammatory cytology. So some of the lumps in body, some of the growths are in body, some of the hyperplastic lesions or hyperplastic growth in body. They may have no inflammation generally. It may be physiological, maybe the chronic irritation or something, the hormonal changes. So many factors they are responsible for the hyperplasia. Then generally at the deeper portion of such lesions, there is absence of inflammatory reaction, but it's not a watertight compartment. Means some of the tumors, they may not show inflammation, but they are highly proliferative. So there is a combination of the so many things together. Benign tumors, they will look similar to the normal architecture. So architecture of that particular organ, say for example hepatocytes, when we are taking the smears or the cytological cells from the blood, from liver, then we are getting similar to liver cell. We are getting the architecture. Means I want to say the architecture of that particular organ will remain as it is. Then the mammary gland tumors, if the adenoma is there, they look similar to the normal structure. Then increase in numbers, though there is normal structures, but there is increase in numbers, and most of the times they are difficult to differentiate between the hyperplasia, then the increased numbers, and the difficult to differentiate between the hyperplastic growth in some of the cell types. So say for example epithelial cells are there. In that case, generally cytological examination quite confusing in such type of conditions, except some of the conditions like lymphoma. We can differentiate lymphoma, but we are not able to differentiate hyperplasia of mammary gland, hyperplasia of uterus, or the hyperplasia of some of the epithelial cells. So that cannot be differentiated just by simply the cytological examination. Cytological examination give little bit idea about the either this is benign, malignant, or it is inflammatory. So likewise, we are changing the things, and finally the final diagnosis of the cytology should be correlated with the histopathology. Now we are discussing so many malignant tumors and their cytology. The thing in the malignant tumor identification, the first thing is that whenever there is a malignant tumor, we must consider that there is a change in nuclear to cytoplasm ratio. Generally 1:5 is the cytoplasmic ratio, the 1 is nucleus and 5 is a portion of the cytoplasm. Then the malignant tumor cells are generally mitotic, they are anaplastic, they are pleomorphic, and sometimes we are getting giant cells, and supportive stroma is also present in the particular malignant tumors. So accordingly, we have to identify the tumors and the structures of the tumors. Now here we can see there is a change in the cytoplasm and nuclear ratio. Then pleomorphism, one cell will be not look similar to the other. Some cells are round, some are the elongated, some are the egg shaped. So like that, there is a pleomorphism. So one cell will not look to the other. That is pleomorphism. The next is the high ratio, nuclear ratio, that we already discussed. And sometimes we are getting the mitotic figures. So mitotic figures means the cells are actively in multiplication sites or the multiplications, and they can show the presence of chromosome-like structures, and they are more embryonal type of cells. So these are the mitotic type of cells. Then the coarse clumped chromatin can be present in the malignant cells. Then the nuclear molding. So multiplication, during the multiplication we can see two nucleus in the one cytoplasm, two nucleus in one cytoplasm. Sometimes there is a multi-nucleation, more than two nucleus can be present into the one cytoplasm. So these are some of the characterization of the malignant cells. Now here directly we can see some of the inflammatory cells along with the tumor cells. So here you can see the cytoplasm and nuclear ratio has been most wider ratio, and no doubt there is a inflammatory cells. The neutrophils are there, some of the round cells are the lymphocytes, and some of the RBCs are there. So the tumor cells plus inflammatory cells, they are present over here. Then mammary adenoma. So here there is a change in the structure of the epithelial cells, so we can get the mammary adenoma. Here I have just projected only one cell. Myxoedema or the myxoma. Here the ground grass like substance can be present on the impression smear as well as the on the fine needle aspiration biopsies. fibrosarcoma. It's a very common observing tumor anywhere. So the site may be vary. It may be the internal organs. It may be the superficial organs. It may near to the some bones. Maybe near to the anywhere. So these are the highly prolific type of tumors, fibrosarcoma, and they are able to metastasize into the various parts of body. So again, the same tumor has been excised, and you can see the ulcerative type of things. So here the ulceration is there. So the open type of tumor was present. It's been removed by surgery, and the impression still smears has been taken from the different portion of this tumor. And in that, we are getting different types of fibroblast or the malignant fibroblast. So generally, the fibroblast will have the normal tapering type of ends, but there is a change in the normal architecture of that cell. The cells will be more embryonal. They will be the fused. Sometimes there is a fusion of the cells. So two cells may fuse together. So they having the more chromatin material. Then the tapering ends are there, but they are present in cytoplasm. But generally, nucleus is having the tapering ends that is absent over here. So in fibrosarcoma cases, we are getting the nuclear material, or the nucleus generally is having the tapering ends, but it gets changed, and it may become round, it may become uneven. So sometimes there is a fusion of two cells together. Then here you can see number of nucleoli are more in the dividing fibroblast or mitotic fibroblast. You can see 1, 2, 3 here. Again, then there is a change in number here. You can see the more number of the nucleoli in that particular fibroblast. So there is a change in the shape of the normal architecture. You can see some of the elliptical, some of the round, some are the till they are having some tapering ends. So these are the changes that can be observed in the fibrosarcoma. You can see another picture of the fibrosarcoma. Here you can see the nucleus of the fibroblast or the mitotic fibroblast will be like this. Some they are having tapering, some they are having the round shape. Then there is a anaplasia. Some are the round one, completely round. Some are the elongated one. So like that in the fibrosarcoma, as they are more proliferative type of tumors or the cancers, there is a anaplasia is there, then the mitosis is there, and there is a more pleomorphism that can be observed in the malignant type of tumors. Here again, this one of the picture. Here you can see some of the normal fibroblasts, but here you can see the more numbers of mitotic cells. Anaplasia is completely present over here. Then sometimes there is a change in the you can see the nucleoli 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So more than 3, 5 nucleoli they can be present in the fibroblastic tumors. Now the more next tumor is more commonly present. That is lymphosarcoma. There is presence of enlargement of lymph nodes, either maybe the submandibular lymph node or the near to the tonsils. Then sometimes in the internal parts of body, here you can see the one lymph nodes get enlarged over here. One is so extensively enlarged at the submandibular areas. Here you can see the abdominal type of lymph nodes are also enlarged. Here you can see a big lump is formed, and then the thoracic lymph nodes, they are also enlarged over in this case. Now if we take the aspiration biopsy from that, you can see the extensive pulverization and mitosis. So here you can see the large number of chromosomes they can disperse. So that is also called as a pulverization of the cells. So here a clear-cut demarcation is there, and the cells are under the extensive mitotic division. So these cells they lost their normal architecture and they are continuously in the mitotic division. That's why we are getting some foam cells type of cells. Some vacuoles are there. Then you can see the chromosomes, they are dispersed throughout the cells or structures. Then some of the cells are under the division. Some they have changed their normal architecture, and all these cells are the anaplastic one. So these are the things that can be observed in the lymphosarcoma, that is pulverization typically. Here again, another case of the pulverization, the same, you can see some of the neutrophils are also present because of the inflammatory reaction takes place within that. Then you can see the dividing mitotic type of lymphocytes. Then these are again the pulverized cells. Here again the pulverization of the cells. So chromatin material and the chromosomes are get dispersed within the cytoplasm. Sometimes cytoplasm get burst and the chromosome get thrown into the surrounding environment. So this type of cytological examination can be observed during the case of the lymphosarcoma. Now squamous cell carcinoma. Now here why I'm saying, because that has been matched with the histopathology. But whenever the squamous cell carcinoma is there, we are getting the squamous cells with the increased size of nucleus. Then there is a presence of, as a rule, there is a change in the nucleus and cytoplasm ratio. So like this, squamous cell carcinoma is there. Then mast cell tumor, generally it's skin tumors, a very small type of nodules. They are present throughout the skin. And once we take the impression smear from that mast cell, we are getting the large number of mast cells into the impression smears or the cytological. Then plasma cell tumors, they are also present over the skin as well as in the internal organs. That type of tumors, they are characterized by the presence of large number of plasma cells. Here you can see the plasma cells, a cartwheel type of appearance of the cells. That the cells are more in number into the particular cytological smears. Then melanoma, these are also the skin tumors. So melanoma, generally the black type of color, discoloration, and it's a localized. Generally, it's a benign tumor. Melanoma is not get metastatized. And till why we are calling melanoma, because till they are producing melanin pigment. You can see the melanin pigment is scattered throughout the picture. The cells with the melanin pigment and some of the small dots of the melanin pigments, they get dispersed into the cytological examination. Then another picture of the venereal granuloma, it's very common in male and female dogs. So generally the farmers, or generally the owners having the complaints that there is a dribbling of some blood drops and during the urination, then there is a swelling of something. Then in that case, if you are taking the cytology with either with the bird or with the cotton swab, then in that case we are getting such type of hexagonal type of cells, and these are the malignant type of the cells or histiocytes you can observe in the VG or the venereal granuloma. The same thing is present over here. Venereal granuloma, we have the hexagonal type of the anaplastic type of cells throughout the section. Now, after some of the observing the tumors, we can go towards the specific tissue or cellular pathology identification, and which is again important during our day-to-day clinics. The specific diagnostic pathology developed during the course of disease. So, what we have to observe in this case? So, as we know, the canine distemper produce the inclusion bodies in various parts of body or in the various dermal cells, maybe the endoderm, mesoderm, or the ectoderm. So here canine distemper can be identified. Then specific cellular alterations, the changes that can be observed during the course of that particular disease. So the specific conditions, there is an alteration in a specific pathology of that particular cells. Then in that case, we can go for some special stains. Then sometimes we can go for the histochemistry of some specific conditions. Say for example, the viral infections, then the cancer. So to identify more deeply or to identify the more antigenically, we can go for the histochemistry of that particular cytological smears. So the specific diagnostic pathology developed during the course of pathogenesis that we can identify with the help of cytology. Now, example, the aplastic anemia. So aplastic anemia may be occur because of this many factors. One of the factors may be the large or the extensive use of antibiotics for a longer period, some of the antibiotics for a longer period, then exposure to the radiations, then some of the chemicals that may lead to the aplastic anemia. So aplastic anemia can be characterized by, or the cytological examination of the aplastic anemia is characterized by the presence of more number of fatty droplets and more edematous fluid into the bone marrow smears. Then again the same aplastic anemia, it was we can say some early stage of aplastic anemia. It could be the next will be the the next step or the late stage of aplastic anemia. Here you can't see any cell. Till here in first slide, few cells are there, they are still proliferating something, but in the next slide we can see there is complete loss of the hematocytoblast or the cells which are producing the different blood cells. So here only the network of fibrin and edematous fluid is present in that bone marrow smears. So that is an aplastic anemia that can be observed because of the many type of inflammatory, many type of etiological factors. Then this is a normal picture of the bone marrow. So bone marrow is having some hematocytoblast, then lymphocytic, then the erythrocyte series, thrombocyte series, and neutrophilic series or the granulocytic series. So this is a normal bone marrow. Here you can see the normal hematocytoblast. This is a multipotent hematocytoblast. It is present in the bone marrow, and this is a normal picture. Now, if we compare with this, so here there is absence of all these hematocytoblast, and you can see the complete loss of hematocytoblast in the aplastic bone marrow or the aplasia of bone marrow. Then sometimes there is an enlargement of liver, hyperplasia of Cooper cells can be observed many times. So these are the Cooper cells at the center, the elongated cells. These are the Cooper cells that can be observed during the hyperplasia of Cooper cells, and that may lead to the enlargement of the liver. Sometimes there is a cholestasis, and animal are suffering from the retention of bile and jaundice. Then some of the conditions like leptospirosis, kidneys are mostly affected by the leptospira. Then you can see with the Fontana stain, we can go for the demonstration of the leptospiral organism. Here, no doubt, these are the fragment of the leptospira. It's 1-2 fragments are there of the leptospiral organism that can be demonstrated. Just take an impression smear from the kidney tissues and stain with the Fontana stain. And if the animal is live, we can take the urine sediment and go for the Fontana stain. We are able to identify the different structures of the leptospira organism. Now, sometimes fungal infections are there. We are treating some wound cases for a longer period, but till we are not getting that much of result, just simply by the giving antibiotics and some sprays like that. But till there is an increase in the size of that particular wound, in that case, the cytological examination is most important, or the most important tool for the cytological or the skin lesions in the dogs. Now, in that dog, if the cytology has been taken from this particular place, and the impression smear indicates there was presence of the fungal spores. There was presence of many fungal spores. The 2 types of fungal spores were present in that particular case, and these spores are surrounded by so many acute and chronic inflammatory cells. Some neutrophils are there. Some of the lymphocytes are there. Macrophages are there. So this is a long-standing chronic wound, and it is caused because of the fungal infections. Also, by giving the antifungal doses, the cases are get cured with the specific type of treatment. Then sometimes there is a swelling of the mammary gland. Sometimes we are confusing with the mammary gland tumor. So the milk can be just make a smear of the milk, and we are getting the neutrophils. Then most of the bacteria, they can be demonstrated into the acute mastitis or the swelling of the mammary gland in the females. In chronic mastitis, the same thing is there. The neutrophils are replaced by the lymphocytes and macrophages until there is presence of some bacteria. So some bacteria are present over the in the cytological smears. Then ascitic fluid. Many times the ascitic fluid will be helpful. Once we see towards the case that ascites is there, generally we are making our opinion that the case is suffering from the liver dysfunction, the kidney dysfunction is there, and once the kidney dysfunction, liver dysfunction is there, and we are not able to treat such type of cases, then sometimes we are saying that it's better to go for the put to sleep. Such type of things generally we are observing, but the cytological examination in such cases will be helpful for some extent. Then for the identification or the diagnosis of the cases. So every case of the ascites may not be because of the only the cirrhosis of the liver or the dysfunction of kidney or the dysfunction of heart. So many times the peritoneal type of tumors, then the tumors of the bile duct, tumors of the liver, they are also responsible for the ascites in the dog. Now, again, the same another case of dog which is having the extensive ascites. So in ascitic fluid, the hepatic cancer, many times the extensive proliferating hepatic cancer may lead to the ascites in many of the patient. So the careful examination of the ascitic fluid will be helpful for we people to demonstrate the different types of neoplastic cells, maybe the hepatic cell cancer, then the cholangiocellular carcinoma or bile duct cancer. So that can be demonstrated. So now, every time the in the ascitic fluid, it is not possible that we are getting the hepatic cell cancer, but the whenever there is a extensive proliferation of the cells and metastasis may occur, the some of the cells get free into the abdominal cavity, and that we can catch means is fortunate. If we are getting, then we can say it's fortunate, but sometimes we may not get. So the careful examination of the cytological smears or the cytological fluid. So here, in both the cases, the cytology was taken and the centrifuge, and we are getting the such type of big type of hepatic cells having the pleomorphism, and there was a change in the nuclear and cytoplasm ratio, and you can see the two nuclei, they are present in the one cytoplasm. So these are the things can be observed. No doubt, along with that, severe inflammatory reaction is present because these cells get shed into the abdominal cavity, and as a result of that, that may lead to the severe inflammatory reaction into the abdominal cavity. So just only the cytological examination will not helpful for we people. Along with that, we should go for the USG, and whenever it is required, we can go for the histopathology of the biopsies. Again, the same thing, the hepatic cancer from the abdominal fluid, you can see the neoplastic cells are present over here, and along with that, inflammatory reaction is present. Then sometimes some of the cases are showing the microfilaria in the lymph nodes. So many times in some particular portion of the India, there is an enlargement of lymph nodes because of the filaria. So generally, every enlargement of lymph node may not be lymphocytoma or may not be lymphoma, but many times it was observed that just by taking the cytological examination of lymph nodes, we are getting the many filarial parasites into the lymph node also. So the identification of the filaria is a very simplest method. The same thing is that just take the aspirated fluid from lymph node and make it smear, and we will able to demonstrate. These are the simply Leishman stain filaria. So just you can smear it with the Leishman stain. We are able to find out the filaria into the lymph node biopsies. Then kennel cough is another problem generally observed in some of the dogs. whenever there is a more population of the dogs together, when the housing is not properly ventilated, and the sanitation and the clearance, or the uh, simply we can say the overcrowding. Simply we can say the overcrowding is present whenever the kennel cuff is there. So in that case, if sometimes the dog may die in spite of our giving good treatment. So as we know, the kennel cough is the complex type of disease and can be involved so many bacteria, so many viruses together, and the adenovirus, then the mycoplasma is there, streptococcus is there. Sometimes the canine distempers or the subclinical canine distempers are also responsible for the kennel cough in the animals, in dogs. So in that case, we are getting the inclusion bodies into the bronchial epithelial cells. So impression smear from the bronchial epithelial cells will show presence of intracytoplasmic inclusion bodies. Then sometimes we are getting the in kennel cough, we are getting mycoplasma. So this is one mycoplasma that has been demonstrated over here. So mycoplasma is cylindrical type of organism that can be demonstrated with the simple cytology or the impression smear from the bronchus and the lung tissues. So the mycoplasma can be demonstrated. So it's better to treat other cases whenever such type of we are doing the postmortems and collecting the samples, going for the cytology, and ultimate result is that to save the life of the others also. Then multiple swelling of the joints. Sometimes there is a swelling of the joints. Synovial membranes get leak, or there is more perfusion of extensive amount of the synovial fluid into the various joints. So synovial fluids will lead to the enlargement of joints. If you see this case, you can see the both of the hip joints, they are enlarged, tuberococci, they are enlarged with this fluid. So this type of fluid generally having many type of pathology, that may include sometimes there is a presence of crystals, then presence of inflammatory cells, and just simply there is presence of fluid only. Then the canine distemper, you can see in canine distemper, the inclusion bodies, they are present in RBC. So these are also the part of the identification of the blood smear during the specific disease. Then canine distemper, the impression smear or the swab taken from the eyelids or the conjunctiva will show the presence of intracytoplasmic inclusion bodies into the epithelial cells. Now after that, generally the cases come to us to know the exact timing of the estrus, or whether the estrus is going on or not, whether the bitch is having the estrus phase or not. In that case, the vaginal cytology is most important factor of our clinic to identify the different types of cells present into the vaginal smears or the vagina. So here only 4 type of cells they are present into the vaginal cytology. The one is anuclear cells, means there is a disappearance of nucleus. So this could be called as highly cornified cells. Anuclear, nucleus is absent. Then superficial cells, the nucleus is present at the center but are about to disintegrate. Then intermediate, there is a little bit more enlargement of nucleus, and the parabasal. So these parabasal cells, then the intermediate cells, then superficial cells, and anuclear cells. These are the 4 type of cells that we are able to identify during the vaginal cytology, and each and every is having its own interpretation for the identification of the estrus phase or the cyclic phase of that particular bitch. Now vaginal cytology will have the all type of parameters just we are going to discuss. So parabasal cells. So the parabasal cells are the cells having the more nucleus, or the nucleus size is much more. Then these are the smallest epithelial cells seen on the typical vaginal smears. They are round or nearly round and have a high nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio. So cytoplasmic and nuclear ratio is quite bigger. It's not 1:5. It may be 2:5 or 3:5 also. Then parabasal cells are prevalent on the smears taken during the diestrus and unestrus, and are in early proestrus. So parabasal cells are absent during the estrus. Now, if the owners are complaining that the estrus is there, if you are getting the parabasal cell, then that particular animal may be in the during the distress or unstressed phase. It is not the stress phase. Now intermediate cells, the intermediate cells are having a little bit smaller type of nucleus and smaller than the parabasal cells. Intermediate cells are very small, very size in the shape and size, but typically have the diameter 2 to 3 times that of parabasal. So they are having the less amount of nucleus or the less volume of nucleus. There is again two type of cells, intermediate cells, and so small intermediate and large intermediate. Large intermediate cells are nearly round or oval in shape and having the prominent nuclei. Then large intermediate, they are polygonal shape with the small nuclear or cytoplasmic ratio. All these cells are typically intermediate except these cells that has been given by the arrow. So this one cell is typically, it's a superficial cell. So if you compare the cells, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 cells are there. So all these cells are the intermediate cell, but this one, just you can see, compare the two cells together. So this size of nucleus is smaller as compared to all these cells. So that's why it is a intermediate type of cells. Then note the intermediate cells are vary in size, that some have a rounded and while the others have the polygonal type of cells. So some are rounded, some are polygonal. Here you can see the polygonal and some are the rounded type of cells of the nucleus we can observe in the intermediate cells. Now superficial cells. So these are the typically seen during the stress. So whenever patient come to us and we are getting the cells without nucleus and cells with nucleus, but very smaller nucleus, and the cytoplasm of that particular cell is become the homogeneous bluish type of cytoplasm, then we can say that the particular patient is in the during the stress phase. So superficial cells are seen in the largest cells, seen on the vaginal males. They are polygonal in shape and distinctly flat. Sometimes they are having the appearance of the being rolled up. Their nuclei are either absent or pycnotic. Pycnotic means they get rupture, or there is a disintegration of nucleus. Then superficial cells without nuclei are often observed during the fully cornified cells or the fully cornified epithelial cells, and these cells are a characteristic feature of the stress phase of the dog. Then proestrus. The proestrus are characterized by the presence of erythrocytes, neutrophils, and foam cells. So here proestrus, you can see the erythrocytes are usually observed in the large number during the proestrus. In some of the beaches, they are seen through the estrus and even in early distress. The neutrophils are often abundant in the smears taken during the early distress. Moderate numbers of the neutrophils are common though not consistent feature of the normal canine vaginal smears and not themselves indicative vaginitis. Then foam cells is a term given to the non-descript type of cells containing numerous vacuoles, and they are typically seen on the smears prepared during the anistrus. Whenever the anistrus phase is there, we can see some of the foam cells that can be observed. So the proestrus is characterized by the presence of erythrocytes, and sometimes at the early stage of the diastrus, we are getting the neutrophils. Then bacteria are often seen on the vaginal smear in huge numbers, covering the cells, then spilling onto the background, and the minute dark specks covering the superficial cells in the image that's been given over here. So these type of cells that can be observed during the estrus phase, and generally the bacteria come into the picture because during the estrus phase the blood is there, and because of that blood, some of the environmental bacteria, they can proliferate or they can multiply over into the vaginal passage, and sometimes we are getting such type of cells with the more bacteria than the cornified epithelial cells, and the dead cells or the squamous type of cells, they are present like this over there into the vaginal cytoplasm. Okay, so this is about from my side. We'll be happy to give answer to you people here.
Hatvet Pharma Private Limited is a pharmaceutical company with its head office at Meerut. It was founded on 29 January 2019 with a vision to provide affordable and quality veterinary medicine to our pet parents. Hatvet Pharma is doing marketing of veterinary pharmaceuticals throughout India. In a small span of 1 year, we have launched 51 products in the veterinary pharma industry to serve our clients. In future 1 year, we are planning to have a product basket of more than 100 products. Hatvet is different from other veterinary pharma companies as we don't have distribution channel. We understand the latest needs of market, and for this reason we have adapted to online module of selling our drugs to field practitioners. We are serving our clients by providing the required medicines at their doorstep without any middleman. We directly collect orders online, mobile app, WhatsApp, telephonic from our end customers, and we deliver the required products to their doorstep through our nationwide logistic partners Blue Dart, DTDC, TCI Express. We are happy to announce that in our client list, most of the leading pet practitioners of India are included. To assure the unbreakable faith of our clients in our company products, we look after the quality of products, starting from selecting the raw material for our final products, aseptic precautions during manufacturing, and proper storage of finished products till supply to the end customers to ensure quality of products. We are happy to share that Hatvet Pharma has been recognized at various business platforms. Recently, an article on Hatvet Pharma has been published in the leading business magazine Business Connect. One more milestone in the success story for Hatvet Pharma is that the managing director of the company, Dr. Rajneesh Tyagi, has been awarded Young Asian Entrepreneurs Award at Bangkok, Thailand on 7th February 2020. Our vision states Hatvet Pharma to be a commercially viable leading veterinary pharmaceutical company in providing quality products affordable to various sections of the pet owner society. Our endeavor is to be a front runner in innovation and quality in the veterinary pharma industry. We see a very bright future for our company as we are working in pet industry, which itself is growing at a higher rate, approximate growth of 20% annually. We are regularly working on the knowing of needs of our customers to serve them in a better way. We value your support to Hatvet Pharma and are very thankful to all of you. We look forward for a very strong and long business association between veterinarians and Hatvet Pharma. Thank you.